This week, Russian Federation once again launched a massive missile strike across Ukraine. 9th of March. Russia spent for this massive missile attack on our energy infrastructure up to $550 million. Although, I'll show you or remind you how Russia looks like in its 80%. Well, this is the main news for last week at Yakovlev's channel. Today I want to start with a terrible thing. Russia, once again, not for the first time, violated international law. Russian bastards shot Ukrainian defender, prisoner of war, just for saying glory to Ukraine. Just for the fact that he didn't submit to the Nazis' insolence, but after smoking a cigarette, said glory to Ukraine.
Снимай его уже. Да ты... Сдохни, сука.
He was killed by Russian terrorists just for the fact that he is Ukrainian, spoke Ukrainian language, and said our Ukrainian symbol, glory to Ukraine, symbol of our freedom. And how many our defenders were killed by Russian Nazis behind this camera? The killing of unarmed prisoner of war is a war crime under the Geneva Convention. And now, security service initiated a crime case under violation of laws and customs of war. Yeah, even war has laws. And there are norms of international law that are systematically neglected by a criminal Russian regime. Sooner or later, the crime will be punished. The accumulation of Russian forces in the Mariupol direction is underway again. Russia is moving military equipment in columns to the Zaporizhia direction through temporarily occupied Mariupol. However, the fiercest battles are in Bakhmut. The Guardian source reports that during attempts to capture Bakhmut, Russia Federation suffered heavy losses, from 20 to 30,000 people. Meanwhile, according to Naval News, the Russian cargo ship, which is under United States sanctions, has crossed the Bosphorus and entered the Black Sea. It was on its way from Syria to the port in Novorossiysk. Then, according to Sky News, Russia received millions of bullets, hundreds of missiles and ammunition from Iran, and new deliveries upland. In January, 2 cargo ships under the Russian flag arrived from Iran through the Caspian Sea to Russia. On board, there were allegedly about 100 million rounds of ammunition and about 300,000 shells and 10,000 body armor and helmet. And the Kremlin paid for all this with the money it received from the sale of oil and gas. Well, if you buy oil and gas from Russia, you support terrorists. And actually, you also can be a terrorist. According to Defense Express, Russia Federation has begun to use in Ukraine new guided glide bombs weighing 1,500 kilograms. This was recorded for the first time a few weeks ago against one of the objects in Chernihiv region. Those controlled bombs are equipped with intentional and satellite navigation and are also capable of hitting highly protected targets, and the bombs can be dropped about 40 kilometers from the targets. In turn, Ukraine is already using the promised GDAM smart bombs with a range of 72 kilometers. And those bombs can be attached to unguided bombs, which were up to 900 kilograms, and making them guided. It's not a surprise that Russian Terrorist Federation wants to comprehensively destroy Ukraine. And of course, they can't miss the ecology. The Minister of Environmental Protection and Natural Resources of Ukraine stated that the environmental inspection conducted a preliminary audit of polluted land, air, water, burnt forest and destroyed natural resources. Russian ecocide against Ukraine. Damages of more than 2 trillion hryvnias were caused. It's about $2 billion. On the temporarily occupied territories of Zaporizhia region, Russian terrorists are stealing grain from farmers. In temporarily occupied Berdyansk, Rushists conducted searches of parents who don't allow their children to go to Russian school. Currently, Russian Terroristic Federation continues to kidnap Ukrainian children and take them to Russian territory, where young Ukrainians are placed in re-education camps and subjected to information bombardment surrounded by Russian propaganda. This scheme is sanctioned by the Kremlin, headed by Commissioner of Children's Rights under the President of the Russian Terroristic Federation. And researchers have identified the location of at least 43 objects in the occupied territories of Ukraine and Russia where ethnic cleansing is taking place. But in reality, there may be many more. And this is the genocide of nation, of Ukrainians.
This is 11-year-old Eva. She hasn't seen her mother for almost a year.
I haven't seen her for so long. I wanted to come back home so much. I cannot believe we are reunited now. I think I will once we get home.
The girl was lucky to be among 307 kids Ukraine rescued from Russian captivity and returned back. Still, new reports on Russia's intricate scheme of kidnapping Ukrainian children are coming in and resemble a well-scripted TV series rather than a sinister reality.
Russia is now implementing in Ukraine probably the largest instance of state-sponsored kidnapping of children in history.
According to the state portal, 16,221 children were deported to the Russian Federation, the Republic of Belarus, or forcibly relocated to the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine. It was possible to return only 307 children.
There are at least 5 scenarios Russia exploits to deport Ukrainian underage minors, and one of them is the so-called evacuation to healthcare facilities.
Creation of conditions unfit for life and the offer to hand over children for rehabilitation and rest.
Russia purported to temporarily evacuate children in Ukraine under the guise of a free summer camp, only to later refuse to return the children and to cut off all contact with their families.
According to Yale Humanitarian Research Lab, at least 6,000 Ukrainian children were forcibly transferred to so-called recreation camps across Russia since the start of the full-scale war.
The number is significantly higher than 6,000, but 6,000 is the number we can corroborate and verify with 100% confidence.
It is the largest transfer of children since the Holocaust.
Spread across 43 facilities, some are in Moscow-annexed Crimea, Siberia, and along Russia's far eastern Pacific coast.
Putin seeks to rob Ukraine of its future by taking its children. Russia's system of forced relocation, re-education, and adoption of Ukraine's children is a key element of the Kremlin's systematic efforts to deny and suppress Ukraine's identity, its history, and its culture.
One of the camps is located in Magadan, roughly 3 times closer to North America than it is to the border of Ukraine. These facilities appear to serve a range of purposes, but the primary one is re-education. Children are not allowed to speak Ukrainian. They are getting lessons on Russia's version of history and are forced to learn Russian patriotic songs.
When the Russian anthem was on, we didn't stand up, so we had to make written explanations why we were not doing that. I said to them I would not stand up to sing.
Military re-education to fight for Russia's view on history is also part of integration into Russian life.
Boys from ages of 14 to 17 are getting firearms training and also training in operating military vehicles.
In some cases, Ukrainian children even have their names and ages changed so they couldn't return back home. Many have already been adopted by Russian families in the course of a fast-track procedure.
All of these kids from Donbass and Mariupol are our kids as well.
The separation of children from their parents breaches the Convention on the Rights of the Child, the Fourth Geneva Convention, and constitutes a war crime. In fact, a genocide. History saw crimes like this before, when Nazis transferred Jewish children into a Germanification program to erase their ethnic identity. One of the first trials in Nuremberg was focused exactly on this crime. So, Russian kidnapping and illegal adoption of Ukrainian children constitutes a precedent for legal persecution in the court, and every party accomplice in this crime must stand trial.
It is in our power to guarantee with words and deeds that the light side of human nature will prevail. And we call on you to help us to save and return young Ukrainians.
Until then, Ukraine is waiting for justice to be restored and acting on every single Ukrainian could get back to home again.
As the last for today, I have a short video that worth your attention. It's like confirmation that the Russians are lying bastards who are not ashamed of anything, because they lied to the whole world, knowing that everyone knows that it was Russia that attacked Ukraine and started this war, and which means that they, Russians, consider the whole world to be fools.
No, the war which we are trying to stop and which was launched against us using Ukrainian people, of course, it influenced the policy of Russia, including energy policy.
In India, at official meeting, Lavrov said that Russia allegedly is trying to stop war in which Ukraine attacked Russia. Yeah. And of course, everyone present began to laugh at such an outright lie that this Kremlin horse's head told. And I wondered, how many people Russian Terroristic Federation should kill, how many civilians it should destroy, that whole world finally understands that Russians are sick Nazi, who should be at least isolated from the whole world, at least like North Korea. This was the main for last week. Thank you for staying with us at Yakovlev Twins channel. Please share our video, and glory to hero, glory to Ukraine, Slava Ukraini.